Welcome to Project Become. I'm Washington Ali, and today I am joined by a very, very old friend who Jack is for me. Is someone who is like strong-willed, adventurous, never ashamed to try anything, and I mean anything, and always bold enough to pull it off. I've known Jack almost 10 years now, but we've like over the past few years we've been lacking a bit of consistent communication, but you've been up to a whole load of stuff, that's really exciting. That's given me an insight of obviously like who you are, and obviously we share a few crazy memories as well. To just to kick it off, my man, I'd really love to start off with like, what is it about, or who is it that you used to be, or what is it about you in your younger days that caused you to cultivate who you are today?
Do you know what? It's weird. I don't feel like I've changed. It's weird. Obviously, everyone changes all the time over little things. But yeah, it's weird. I feel like I've always been the same person. I've never. I think because I've had good role models. I'm my older brother. He's always sort of told me, young, don't do this, do this, do that. And where I'd look at him kind of guiding to him with youngsters, but to me we're still olders, I was kind of looking at them thinking they're not listening, but I'm going to listen. I'll make sure I listen. So it's weird. From a young age, I've always felt like I was the same person. I don't think I'm super mature, but I feel like I've always been the same sort of character. I don't think maybe in some aspects where when I was younger, I would let things slide or not let things slide. That's pretty much it. Apart from that, I've always been the same person. That's probably why I do so many weird things, because I'm just like a little kid. If I want to do something, I'll do it, and that's it. Maybe I should grow up. Maybe I should change.
I don't think so, man. Like, to me personally, like, you've been an inspiration because I've seen you pivot maybe two or three times, and each time you've pivoted, you've maintained, like what you're saying, you've maintained that same type of energy, you've maintained that same type of like childlike like energy about you. And I think what else is, I guess, really interesting is that like, it, to me anyway, obviously I haven't been that close to you, it seems like you haven't necessarily taken a knock. You've seen it as you've seen everything come at you as an opportunity. That's how it's come from my world. So like, what is it about your older brother that you put trust in? Obviously you said that you saw other people not listen to him and things like that, but what made you listen to him?
Do you know, I think it's one thing in particular. He had a Porsche when he was 21, and I remember him telling me, paused, so I carry on.
No.
I remember him telling me, he said there was a young lad who asked him like, I want to get a Porsche when I'm 21. And I think the lad was like 18. I must have been about 10, if that. And he said, I told the boy, if you don't do drugs, don't do cocaine, save your money, you'll get a Porsche when you're 21. I went, did he do it? And he went, of course he didn't. He's a cokehead now. And I remember sitting there thinking, no, I promise you. In my head, I was thinking, I promise you, I'm going to be that one when I'm 21, I'll get a Porsche. And I did get a Porsche. I had a Jag when I was 21, to be fair. But I
remember riding around in that.
But I did have the Porsche, but I didn't do any drugs. I thought, just for my own self, I thought I want to be the one who actually listens to like sensible advice. I think if he was my dad, I wouldn't, but because he was an older brother, and like with your brothers, they don't have to be nice to you. They don't like have that unconditional love. If you're winding them up, they'll just leave. So I think there was I had to always earn my older brother. I've got 3 older brothers, and I had to always earn all 3 of their, like, even a laughter. You can't just make them laugh. You have to say something funny. And if you're not funny, and as a kid, you obviously no one is. So you're trying to make them laugh, and they're just looking at you like, right.
What you doing, like, mate?
That's not funny. And I'm like, oh, shit, okay. And then you just don't, you have to work hard for their attention kind of thing. You can't just get it, or you can't just be forgiven. You have to kind of do something about it. You have to prove it kind of thing. So I think that's probably, that's in my head. I don't feel like that made a big impact, but I always remember that. So it must have done. It must have done.
Well, to be fair, that's a really, really powerful signal, right? You see your older brother, he's doing something with himself.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? He's got the car, he's living a certain lifestyle. Do you know what I mean? You're like, oh, he's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then you're privy to that conversation, and you're just like, wow, so this person's got it and this person doesn't have it, and the person who doesn't have it has done exactly what my brother told him
Yeah.
not to do. Do you know what I mean? So it makes sense. It makes sense. So, like, tell me, what was your earliest like adventure, or should I say venture? Were you that kid selling sweets at school, or were you more focused on your books? Like, what was your first venture?
Yeah, do you know what? I remember my dad telling me he used to sell things in schools, and he was the only kid allowed in the staff room because he used to sell suits to kids and to teachers. So I remember I think it was just to try to be like him. What was I selling first? I think it was chewing gums, then it was cookies, and it was like random little bits. But it weren't, to be fair, I only used to sell things in school just for the sake of it, because that, for a kid, it was a lot. But I remember from a young age, I had to work in my mum and dad's little fun park on Canvey. So from about 10 or 11, like, you normally would get like a tenner a week for for nothing as a kid. But I used to have to go in there, and it weren't work. I was just sort of wandering around getting people their food. But for me, it was work. So I felt like I was working for it. And during the 6 weeks, every single day, I weren't allowed out with my friends. I had to work. So I'd be earning like maybe £200 a week or £100 a week from that as a kid. So when I was selling cookies, it weren't really a lot of money. So I'd just do it just for the sake of it. So I remember one point I just stopped doing it because it was like, I think it was like £10 a day. But I thought, being all cocky, like, I can earn £20 a day on a weekend. I don't need this. Looking back, I should have just kept saying I could have earned more money. But
I hear that. That's wild, man.
Yeah, weird.
That's wild. So, do you have any like working? I know I've got my boy TK, who you might not know him. Might know him. He's pretty like, I'm gonna say bait in Southend, and he worked at Adventure Island down in Southend. But he always says that his initial sales experience came from working at Adventure Island. If he never worked at Adventure Island, saw how the managers like managed people and how tough certain situations were, he said like he would never have the same hunger of big business acumen. Obviously, your journey is slightly different, but what did you learn from working at the amusement park?
Yeah, to be fair, it's probably the same sort of thing. I worked, because at first I was there, and then when I got to about 16, I went to the gym. So slightly different. You see, it's weird how you see people in different ways and you have to talk to them differently. But yeah, definitely the way you talk to them from like 11, you just see adults kind of talking to you like an adult, and they'll come to you. And like I was working on a football shootout, and it was, I can't remember what I was doing. It was 3 balls for one token or something. A token was £1. And like, even though I remember one bloke, he threatened to throw my head through the hole because I was being a bit strict. And it was like, well, kind of like no one come over and sort of like help me out. No teacher was there, so it was like, well, I've got to maybe be a bit less leery to adults because he's going to throw my head through this wall. And I think I spoke to someone. They said, well, you could have just let him have an extra free kick and left him happy. Like if he was happy, you maybe would have spent more money. And so from young, it's little tricks like that. There's so many little things you don't really think about, and you think other people do. And yeah, it's weird. I don't know. Yeah, probably quite a lot of things really.
Yeah, is there like another standout moment, like maybe I don't know, maybe a fight broke out and you had to do something about it, or I don't know, it's like someone won more tickets than they should have won. Is there anything that stands out to you as like, oh, that was pretty sick, or that was a pretty dull moment?
What was it? It's a few. Do you know what? It's more to do with the staff, because I used to obviously see the staff as like a worker with them, but then I'd also go into like the little ticket office and hear like my mum and dad talking about the staff and who was good and who wasn't. And I think in general there was one guy and everyone loved him and he was chatty, and I can't remember what made me realise, but it was like all lies. Like everything he was saying was just a compulsive liar, but everyone would just talk to him and believe him. And for some reason it's just sticking in my head. It's not even a dramatic story, but I think that was like the first time from a young age I realised that people like lie a lot, and like you can't trust people, if that makes sense. It's weird. I don't know why that stood out, because there's loads of little times when people have kicked off and argued and you have to deflate it, but yeah, for some reason that stands out a little bit more for me, because it was like a big moment of, oh, this guy who I like as a kid, you look up to this guy, he's really cool, and then you hear it from another side and you think, oh, actually it's all fake. It just crumbled completely. Whereas in school you kind of I don't know, you just believe your friends, didn't you, in school? Whereas this was like a weird moment. Weird. Yeah, I don't know why that stuck out.
That's quite wild,
Weird.
you know. Someone you look up to,
Yeah.
and like you said, you don't remember how. That's so wild. So after that point, how did you start? Did you start like? Do you still keep giving people the benefit of the doubt, or were you just like, okay, I'm gonna watch what people say and then take action, or like what? That's so wild, man. That's so wild because I can't even. I remember the first time I learned about a lie, and my mum told me to tell her what. My mum said to me like, "Dude, you didn't need to say that. You could have just said, you could have just told a white lie."
Yeah.
And do you know what I mean? And then she gave me the whole speech about, lying's not good, but this, that, yeah. Do you know what I mean?
You're not meant to lie, but if someone's fat, don't tell them.
Yeah.
And so, do you know what? Thinking about it, the first time I remember, this is such a weird story. It's one of them cringe moments. You probably won't cringe, but I look back and cringe. I was sitting in class, and there was like me and a guy. We faced another guy, and I must have had too much sugar. I was really hypo, and then we were talking, and he turned around and said, "Yeah, my dad's a plumber," and I turned around and said, "Yeah, same." And then he looked at me with this look of like, "What?" And I just turned to my book and just carried on writing wherever I was writing. And I remember thinking, I'm never lying ever again. That was just traumatic. And it was that was young. I was probably about 8 or 9. That was just traumatic for me. I don't know why I did it.
Wow. So, bro, like you have such like a moral compass, bro. Like a really, really tightly screwed on moral compass, bro. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't. I was like, whatever I want, I'm going to get it at any means possible. If I'm going to be completely honest, I didn't feel good about it 100% of the time. But I was just like, I've got. If I do this or do that, I'll achieve my goal, type of thing. So that's so wild. So what do you think it is, man? Because that is really, really interesting. And the reason why I'm asking you why do you think it is because what I'd love for the people watching or listening to this is to be able to pick up skills or distinctions in your speaking, in your story, and like really think about things that they've never thought about. Because if not everyone, but a lot of the people that I come and meet is that I'll say about 70 to 80% of the people I meet, something happened in their life that transformed their way of thinking completely about honesty, about integrity and things like that. And it seems like for you've it's almost like you've been pulled towards it, you know?
Yeah, that's an interesting way of saying it. Do you know what? It's weird because recently, it's kind of all might tie in actually, I think, because recently I've been treating everything like, and calling everything a circus. So obviously I'm doing the fighting shows and people say to me like, oh, is this thing a lie? Or is these person making up this argument? And it's like, in a way, yes, but in the bigger picture, no. And I was talking to a friend and he called me, I think it was a nihilist, and he said where nothing matters, like there's no God, there's no life, there's no meaning, nothing matters, get on with it. And I said to him, I'm kind of the opposite. I'm more like an optimistic nihilist, like nothing matters, so everything does, if that makes sense. And like I've kind of gone like the whole 360 with like the truth thing, because I realised lying makes me feel shit. My mum told me, I remember my mum went to tell me off once and she said, you tell me the truth, I won't tell you off. And I told her the truth and it just worked. So I was like, tell her the truth, she won't tell me off. And ever since, I never lied to my mum ever. Tell her everything and it works. Like as long as she knows, she's happy. And then, but as you get older, you realise that other people lie. Like this guy used to lie and he used to really annoy me. I used to be cynical. If someone would tell me a story, I'd think, oh, it's a lie, I don't care, I'm not going to listen to it. And I'll try to call people out on it and start arguments. And then I get a bit further on and I'm like, well, to be fair, if I just enjoyed the story for what it was, if I know it's a lie, he knows it's a lie, it's a fun story, I can enjoy the moment, then it's okay. Like I can just be happy. It doesn't matter if someone tells me, oh my God, you look really good, and secretly I'm thinking, no, I don't. I'm not going to feel shit about it. I'm going to think, oh, cheers. Whether or not they're being like they're hyping me up or being like a people pleaser. I used to hate people pleasers, whereas now I encourage them. I love them. I love someone. If they're just out of their way, just trying to hype everyone up, good. I think that's a good thing now, rather than when I was like 19, it used to get on my nerves about it. I used to think, no, tell me the truth. Even if you don't like it, just tell me. Whereas now if someone just wants to tell me a little white lie and gas me up, then yeah, fine. Because some people are just genuinely happy about anything. And then that comes to the fight shows with it. Like we had a situation before where we was training in the gym and this guy's ex-opponent knew was in the gym. And this certain guy, He's just a guy he'll just make drama, and he likes telling a bit of a story. He'll make something up, and for some reason he just come along, thought he'd just mess with everyone. He'd come in, started shouting and raving and kicking off a little bit, and then he left. And everyone was like, oh, it's fake, it's fake. And it was like, for some of the guys involved, it was 100% real. For him, it was almost forced, but it was still real. He said it and he meant it and he had a laugh. There was no real meaning behind calling him this or that, but he still did it, and he kind of got the reaction he wanted. And for the people watching, you can either think, well, is it real? Yes. Is it 100% real? No. But in the same respect, it's like when you look back at school, if someone come up to you and said, oh, you're this, you're that. If you're with certain friends, you have to react, you have to do something, because otherwise they'll think, oh, she's this or that. He didn't say nothing when this guy offended him. Even if you're not offended, you have to react, you have to nip it in the bud. But realistically, you don't want to fight. This guy doesn't want to fight. Otherwise, you would have just walked up to each other and punched each other. So just because of like expectations, egos, and these kind of things, and social things, you're kind of forced to fight. And that's the most organic fight you can technically have, and that's real. But is it real? Because it's kind of forced. It's kind of fake. You don't really want to. You don't want to. It's kind of only because people are watching and expecting the hype and adding to the hype and saying things and stirring things. So in one way, I look at everything as either all completely fake, wrestling, UFC, boxing, Conor McGregor versus Mayweather, your mate in the street, jumping someone, normal fights, fist fights in schools, anything. It's either all real or it's all fake. And I choose to believe it's all real because it's more fun that way. So that's why I call it all a circus, because we're all a part of it. You know, we all got to just choose a role and just get on with it. But it's all happening either way.
Wow, bro, nuggets. If we were like a spoken word, I'll be clicking. Like that's some real shit right there, man. And you know, I relate with so much of what you're saying, and I love how you explained it. You know, I'm gonna like try and like what you were saying about everything matter and nothing matters and everything does at the same time. That's the exact same philosophy I have. You know, for me, it's like I say. There's no meaning to existence, essentially. However, the meaning that there is the meaning that I create of it, you know? And it's like, that's exactly what I'm hearing from you. It's just like, boom, like, okay, everything's a circus and the show must go on anyway. So I'm going to pick a play, I'm going to pick a role, and I'm going to play that role as best as I possibly can. And that is such a mindset of mastery, bro. Like nothing can get you, because you know, like, oh, everything's a show right now. Everything's a show. So let me ask you this. How do you determine who your real people are? Who the people that you know, like obviously, like you're the people that I can actually trust. You're the people that I can speak to or rely upon a real response. Like, do you have loads of them? Do you have a couple of them? Like,
do you know what? It's weird because like I was speaking to like my girlfriend's got like 100 close friends. She's got like 2 to 3 close friends. Whereas me, I kind of treat everyone like a close friend. And when we first got together, she was like, "You got so many friends," and she's got a thing, she hasn't got trust issues, but like she kind of would expect someone to, more like cynical in a way. Like if she told someone a secret and they told everyone, she's not going to be disappointed because she expected it almost. Whereas I've got like a similar thing. I was talking to her and my mum, and I told them that, like, because they say you can't trust anyone. And it's the same philosophy. I say you can trust everyone, but you have to know how to trust them. Like, I've got one brother who won't say anything to anyone. I could tell him, right, I'm going to go and kill this person at this day, this time. Don't tell a soul. And he wouldn't. And that's something you wouldn't tell anyone, but I could tell him. I've got another brother who would outright tell me, don't tell me because I'll tell everyone. But on the next breath, the same brother who would tell everyone everything would stand with me against 100 men on our own, and he'd be hyped up. So you can trust everyone, but you have to know how to trust them, kind of thing. Like you'd trust your dog not to eat you in your sleep, but you wouldn't trust her with your dinner, you know? There's probably a better metaphor there, but...
No, I love that. That's quality, mate. That is quality.
Like, you wouldn't leave her alone with your baby, do you know? Like, it's... So you know,
100%.
You can trust... You have to... I know it sounds bad, but you have to know how to use people and, like... you can meet someone tomorrow who's really close and really friendly, maybe, but you probably wouldn't trust them to be your best man at your wedding tomorrow, but maybe you can go out and have a good time with them. And like with me, I don't drink. I've never done drunk. I've never been drunk or anything like that. You can have a good night out with me and invite me out, but if you wanted to go out and get on it, you wouldn't invite me. So I'm not that friend. So you wouldn't trust me to have a good time out like that. You know, you have friends for different situations. You have people for different types of trust. So I think it's just, and I think I was cynical before when I was younger. Like, you can't trust no one, don't tell anyone anything. But I just can't help it, and I end up telling everyone everything. So I'm like, well, you have to just be selective with who you tell certain things.
100%. That's so interesting. Like for me, I used to be like overly open and share everything with anyone, right? And then now I'm actually learning to be a bit more cynical. I'm learning to be a bit more exactly what you're saying, selective of like, I guess, who's the best person to share this information with, so that my world remains peaceful, my life remains like as congruent as it possibly can be. And that's a huge skill in terms of the business you're running, right? The people that you deal with, the contracts that you have to sign, and also a good example, what would be, well, yeah, literally like the people you get in business with. Like, let's say you have a doorman, you know, you can tell a certain amount to a doorman. You have promoters, you know exactly what you're saying. You know, you're going to bring the promoter to help. You're going to ask the promoter to help you, but you're not necessarily going to go out with the promoter, because the promoter is probably like living a completely different lifestyle to what you're living. You know, so how do you? Maybe not. How do you select? I guess. Bro, you've really got me stumped, because like this is super insightful, because I've never heard anyone express what you've just expressed as clearly as you've expressed it. And usually when that is expressed, people get really upset for some reason, you know? So that's really, I'm really enjoying it. So, boom. So you're friends with everyone. Tell me about you. So you should touch the light on your relationship with your brothers. How do you perceive manhood, my man? You know, how do you perceive who it is that you're supposed to be in this world? Like your role. How do you perceive your
That's
role?
weird, because like obviously with like, you know, like the Andrew Tate things and stuff, and like, I've been thinking about it a lot lately. Like a lot of the things like you hear, like I've got a lot of friends who are literally like, they'll hear a few things, because I think Andrew Tate is like, he'll either talk about women and that kind of thing, or fighting. And obviously I can relate to the fighting side a lot, because we have similar outlooks. And I found myself agreeing with loads of things he was saying. And like, he uses a lot of metaphors that I was using not long ago for fighting with life and things like that. And there's so many good metaphors you can use. And he was saying it when I was thinking, he's so right. And then he'll say something about women and men cheating. I think, I just don't agree. I just don't know why I just don't agree. And it's right what he's saying, but it's because it's truth. And it is like, I don't want to say it, but it's like his truth. And I'm sitting there thinking, yeah, he is right, but I just don't agree. And it's weird. And I'm thinking like, and you watch the things of like when he's a bit younger and his TV shows, and you can kind of watch like him becoming the person like who he wants to be. And I'm going to touch back actually, because I remember when I was younger, there's a time where I really thought about being cool. And I really wanted, because I thought everyone wants to be cool. I was like, but I don't even know really like what that is. So I remember just sitting there thinking like, what do I actually think cool is? And I like went through my head of like, what would if someone walked in, who like the coolest person ever, what would they be like? And then I started thinking about it. And I thought that's who really I want to be. That's inside. And I thought not everyone would have the same definition. And then I thought, well, everyone's probably got a slightly different definition of what they think like the ultimate cool is, but that's within them. And this is where I become randomly just all of a sudden become confident, because I thought, well, that is me, that's who I am. If anything, I'm just stopping myself from being that person. So I've just got to just slowly stop being this shy person and just let the cool walking around doing this, saying this. I'm still trying to be that person, but you just got to let that person out, because they're in there. They just want to be out. And because obviously we're all a little bit insecure in some ways, it's hidden. And I think like with the Andrew Tate thing, he's obviously, you've seen him come out and become the person he thought he was going to be, in a cool person. But the reason why I mention that is the reason why I don't agree with him is because obviously it's the people you surround yourself by is kind of how you see the world, isn't it? And it's like, I know they say you're the average of your friends, and I'm really lucky because obviously my dad's owned a weightlifting gym my entire life. I was born, and then within 2 hours I was taken there to see him. So from 2 hours old, I was in the gym, literally. So I've been brought up around people. Like, my brothers don't train; they're not gym goers, but we all go to the gym a couple times a month at least. But we're not gym goers. We don't like going to the gym, but we'll do it more than the average person, because to us the average is 3 times a week, when actually it's not. But what we see is everyone going to the gym because that's all we're surrounded by. And I think you'd like how maybe this, like, the Tate saw the world and saw the men on his chats. They're always cheating on their wives. That's the only men he sees. The women he sees are the ones who sell sex for money or whatever. And if you're in a pub and you own a pub, you'll probably only see guys a bit pissed up, sniffing their life away. The women who are out who shouldn't be, the men who have, they've got wives and then chatting to them in appropriate ways, and you kind of see the world in that way. Whereas I used to see, I used to work the Sunday shift at the gym, and I used to see there's a couple of guys who used to come up after a night out and they'd be regretting it. So all I would see was these guys trying to be better, and they'd be regretting what they'd done. Oh, I'm not a cheat. I don't know why I've done it. I just got a bit drunk. I don't know why I did it. I'm going to have to make it up to her. I want to be better. And then you see on a Monday, the guys who would come in and, oh yeah, I'm doing this and I'm doing this. And it's weird because like the lowest standard of man I saw was like the best standard of man at the pub, say, because they're at the gym the next day. Does that make sense? Like it's weird. Like I'm grateful because my expectations of like a man are quite healthy, quite athletic, confident, chatty, a good father, a good husband, because that's what all I've seen. I'm not necessarily saying my family are the best fathers and the best husbands, but when I was younger, that's all I was kind of surrounded by. So when you see that, that's kind of, you don't know when it is, but at some point you just decide, oh, that's what you're meant to be. That's how you're supposed to be. Like everyone I was surrounded by was always trying to be better in some way. And we all kind of know what is kind of good, don't we? Or our own version of good.
Yeah.
So it's weird. I think a masculine trait is probably protecting, isn't it? If I had to describe it in a couple words, I'd probably say, mother. I don't know. I think everyone's got different views in that, haven't they? I ain't even thought about that.
Yeah.
Love.
Well, I hear that. Well, I loved
so many stories,
what you're saying about that. So many. It's actually fantastic. I think that's one of the I'm clipping. I think that's one of the main things that's I guess really important for for me, my perspective, a man to have many stories to tell, to be the life of the party, and not saying that women can't be either, but it's more like exactly what you're saying, what I grew up around, and also what I saw and what I thought was cool too, right? For me, and to be fair, like I used to, for me personally, I came across I think it was like Plato or Aristotle, I don't know, bro, just by accident. I saw one of my boys who played football reads it, and I was like, oh my God, he's a philosopher. I want to be cool like him, right? He's reading all this cool stuff. And then I just read this book, Ethics. I didn't read the whole book. I read probably like 4 or 5 chapters, which was long. And all it was talking about was the good man does this, the great man does this, the prosperous man does this, the X man does this, the low life man does this. And for me, I've always been looking for or searching for, like, I always, like, to put it simply, life's meaning, or like what's the point to all of this. But like distilling that, it's, for me, it's always been like, okay, like how I was doing the opposite. I was chasing other people's images, right? And I was like trying to fit myself in their box, trying to fit myself in their mold of themselves, and operating that way. So there's been so many modes of myself where I've thought, let's say the scholar is the best type of man to be. The person that goes to uni, gets the grades. Oh, that's a great man. And then you met me in our music phase, so I thought like being the next Kanye West, being spiritual, being like whole, like all like thinking differently was like the best person to be. And through that journey though, what I learned was exactly what you're saying. It's about being able to be self-expressed. It's about being able to be chatty. It's about being able to bring people together. It's about being able to like protect your own, you know. But what I missed out in that whole entire journey, what I didn't completely understand is responsibility, you know. And I didn't understand responsibility in the context of that when you declare yourself to be something or be something bigger than what you already are, you take on a huge level of responsibility. Other people start to trust you. Other people start to rely on you. And if you're the person that's generating all of the energy around you, you would then become the main problem solver. You become the person to generate the ideas that need to be solved, with the ideas for the problems that need to be solved, you know? And it's like, for me, like I grew up with my dad until about 12, 13, and then my mum took over for the rest of my life, right? And it became like I was getting schooled by my mum on what it means to be a man, and like my own perceptions as well were like I was balancing out, and I was like, oh wow, I stepped too far, too masculine this side, or I've stepped too feminine this side, and then of course like what I really like for me personally, what I'm really enjoying about the uprising of like people like Andrew Tate, people like that whole entire movement is because I grew up. Well, I was 13 when I was young when I was asking these questions, and I didn't have a concrete something to look up to. And for me, what life's taught me, and what life's not even taught me, what life's made me do is autocorrect. You know, I have had to correct. If I listen to all of Andrew Tate's messages and I try out everything that Andrew Tate says, right, I'm going to get myself into some stupid situations. But if I synthesize what with the knowledge I already have, then I believe I'll get better results. You know, and that's why. So for me, it's like I'm loving this whole entire movement of masculinity because I feel like there's not a lot of male role models around, man. I don't think there is, and I consider myself lucky as well, by the way, because I've got 3 brothers and a sister who's one of the gang, you know, and our bond, our relationship is so tight. So do you think what's your relationship like with your brother?
To be fair, it's weird because I've got there's 4 of us. So I've got 3 brothers. I'm the youngest, so I've got the oldest brother, Aaron. He's like 13 years older than me. And then there's Alfie, who's like 4 years older, and then Charlie's like 1 or 2 years older. So Aaron was like almost like a father figure who it was like everyone was always trying to get his respect and his attention. And I was speaking to him the other day about it, and he looked at it so differently because obviously there's one case in particular. I remember he just took me to get my hair cut. I thought it was a normal haircut situation, but it was like the first time my mum went there. And I said to him the whole time I was sitting there, I was thinking, I've got no money. Like, how am I going to pay for it? And it didn't cross my mind that he was going to pay. I was sitting there thinking, they're going to get to the end of this haircut and it's not going to get paid for. And then at the end, he paid for it. And I was like, oh, thank God for that. Then we got home and then my mum was taking pictures of us together because we had like the same haircut. And I was looking at the picture the other day and I was thinking, that was probably like a big deal to him. He took his little brother to get a haircut and like, oh, look at me, I'm all cool. And there was me sitting the whole time thinking, shit, I'm going to get told off for not being able to pay. And it's weird because I never, like, to me it was a big deal. Oh my God, Aaron's taking me to get my haircut. Whereas I didn't think he thought about it. I just thought oh, I'll take him. Whereas now I look back and think, oh, he probably thought, oh, I get to take him. And it's weird how, like, from a kid, you don't realise how much it's, like, reciprocated the same way back. And I remember, like, if we'd go somewhere on, like, a minibus, I'd be trying to, like, Alfie, who's like the middle one with Aaron, would always have a lot of banter, and I'd be trying to get involved. But when I was about like 13, so I couldn't. I weren't funny enough. I was like trying to say some jokes. They'd be like, "What?" And I'd sit there quiet, like, "Oh, fuck that one." My one time to talk, and and then and it was just, I just kept embarrassing myself. But then all of a sudden, it'd be like the 3 of us would be chatting and bantering, or when like my other brothers there, like the 4, and it's like, oh, I'm a part of them now. I'm one of them. And it's so weird. It's weird. Like, we all have a different relationship with each other. Like, my oldest brother, Alfie's, Aaron, he's really into yoga and spirituality, and he talks more to me, surprisingly. Then I've got Alfie, who I talk to more about the fighting side of things. Because we all train, but some, like me and Alfie probably took it a little bit further. My other brother, Charlie, he's like a gamer. He likes games, and if you talk to him about anything in like classic, like geek in school, just knew everything about everything, like general knowledge geek, like not like he weren't like a fighting geek, or just general knowledge geek. And it was like anything you'd ask, he just like we'd all be sitting there like, oh, okay, and then we'll go back to our debate. We'd have to fact check with him. And it's like we're all kind of different, but we all get on like in different ways, and we all have the same kind of sense of humour. So like, the one thing we relate to is the language we have with each other that no one else could probably understand. But we're all individuals in that language. Does that make sense? You'd understand.
Yeah, no, 100%.
You've probably got that with yours.
Yeah, exactly. literally. Like sometimes I'll be in the living room, right, and my mum will be there, or sometimes I'm with my girlfriend and my mum's there. Me and my siblings would just start chatting away, and they'll be just like, "What are you talking about? You know, why are you like this?"
It just gets worse as well.
And
hype each other up.
Yeah, literally. Oh man, that's really beautiful, man. Because I'm just thinking about like my relationship with my siblings, and you sharing what you were sharing about your first haircut. It's like same feeling for when I first took my younger brother out driving.
Yeah.
You know, when I took him out for his first haircut, like it's so crazy. He said to me, actually, he said this to me, by the way, to G-check me as well. By the way, I was having a rough patch. And imagine he's only 17 as well. I was having a rough patch, and he's like, he sits me down in the conservatory, and he was just like, "Wash, you know, like when I was younger, I used to really look up to you, man. Like not saying he doesn't, but he was like, I used to really look up to you. It's like I thought what it meant to be a man was to be fit, have a six pack, right, and be able to talk to anyone." You know, and I was just like, wow, there's no way my guy was like, bro, the guy is jacked. You know, you look at him, he's like proper firm figure. It's not like overly muscular, but it's like proper athletic, like really, really like sculpted is what I'm going to call it. And yeah, man, that's just wild. That's just wild. And that was a really proud moment for me, even though he was also saying like, "Wash, listen, like you seem a bit low. You need to like pick it back up. Like this is who my older brother is, and what I'm seeing right now is not it."
But only he can say it to you.
Know?
Like
So,
no one else can say the same thing.
Exactly. And that's the power of the relationship, you know, like the honesty, the transparency, and also the banter as well, you know. Yeah, it's really beautiful to hear all the moments and the memories that have actually cultivated you to have a really incredible outlook, man. Like a lot of people pay a lot of money for your type of outlook.
Yeah, I'm lucky. I'm lucky. You know? Even like was that? Have you heard that story, like the Chinese farmer when like the horses and nothing's good or bad? And I remember my brother told me that, my older brother told me that years and years ago, and I don't even think I understood it at the time. And then I just naturally just got the same kind of aspect of thinking. And then he told me again, I was thinking, I already know that. And so I don't know if it did affect me when he said it, but like I'm lucky that I understand the message, and I'm like, I'll do that anyway. It's fine. Like whatever happens, and like you just got to make what you make of it. But it's weird because some people hear it and they just can't get, like they know they should, but they just can't. Whereas anything that happens so far, touch wood, it's been, I've made it good. Like I've made it success. Like the amount of like, and I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like messing up a business a couple times in a row. Do you know what I mean? It sets you back financially. The credit scores. Do you know what I mean? Like if people see my bank account, they wouldn't understand why I'm smiling. But do you know what I mean? It doesn't matter. You got to just keep pushing, and like I'm grateful. Like I'd rather have no money, no house, no car, no headphones, no phone, nothing, and still have the same outlook and still be me. Do you know what I mean? You just got to be grateful for what you got, you know. Yeah. Like sometimes you got to check your friends. I would say to like one of them the other day, I'd say like, I think he was being a bit jealous of this person. Oh, he's got this, he's got that, he's lucky, he's got this family. And I said to him like, yeah, but would you swap like who you are now and the bird you got? Like, would you swap that for what they've got? Like to be them, look how they look, to act how they look with their girl. Would you swap it? They were like, fuck no. And I'm like, well then, consider yourself lucky. He's probably sitting there thinking, I'd swap all this for that bird. Do you know what I mean? Like it's weird.
That's crazy. That's the truth, man. That is the truth. You know, so let's talk shop, man. Tell us about your gym. Tell us about the fighting business. By the way, I said to you, I'll message you back in the morning about the fight, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, nah, I'll save it for the podcast because those 3 fights were wild, right? They were wild. They were excellent. I was thinking, like, imagine being there because blows were being smacked, you know. And you know what's so funny? How I came across it is one of I used to be friends with Riggsy back in the day. Yeah, you know. So yeah, tell us about how the fighting business came to be, and also
it's so
gyms
weird.
as well.
I tried not to get involved with gyms or fighters or anything like that. So, like, everyone kind of knows where they start, or they kind of knew a time when they couldn't find they started. Whereas for me, because like my oldest brother, he done karate to quite a high level, and I was just kind of forced into karate. So I can't remember a time when I didn't know how to make a fist and how to kind of throw a punch, which I think set me back at first, because when you start a certain age, you think you know, but no matter what, until you get to about 16, you don't know, and you physically can't do the moves. You think you know, but you don't. So it's like, just keep going until you're about 18. Okay, now you probably know. But like, if you're like 5 or 6 doing like these punches, you think you can fight. And then I remember I started off with the karate. Yeah, okay, I think I can punch now. Then when I was 11, I started doing a bit more of the grappling and like MMA wrestling side of things. And I remember one session, we did that for about 2 years. And I remember one session, it was like, oh, okay, we're doing some striking, we're doing some sparring, boxing sparring only. And I remember I'd never sparred before boxing at that point. Put gloves on against my cousin, I think it was, who was bigger than me. And I thought, yeah, I'm going to smash him up now because I'll do MMA. And I thought, look back, I think I'd never been told how to punch with gloves on before. How the hell did I think I was going to do well? The confidence pulled me through and I actually got the better of him. But it's weird how it's weird how you think you know, but you don't. But I started off young, so I've never known not how to throw a punch. It's always just been, for me, I was always surrounded by people who fought or trained, for me, no matter what, I'd always be trained. I didn't really want to be a fighter, really. I wasn't that bothered about it. I just wanted to have businesses. My dad's had businesses, so I wanted them. But I knew with gyms, you get a lot of people who moan. I didn't see it as a massive income. I didn't see fighting as an income at all. So I just thought, I'll own a business, and then if I want to carry on training, I can. So the first business I actually did was actually doing pads up the gym. I was training people. I started doing pads, and I was earning my wage for myself, and then I was working the gym kind of for free for my family. So I was quite busy, to be fair. I'm quite grateful for that. I was quite busy. And then I left there to start working for different people. I was doing garden clearances when I was 19. And even now, I was so lucky to get the jobs I was getting at 19. I had probably about 6 months booked out, just driving around clearing gardens on my own. Like, I'd pay a mate. So to be fair, I've always managed to get the work in. Don't know how. And then I went from that to then working for someone else to then opening a coffee shop on Canvey. Originally, it was just going to be on my own. I went there to sit with my friend Jordan. We viewed it. We started ripping up carpets. And my dad found out about it. And I didn't want to tell him because he'd try and talk me out of it because he's had businesses. He don't want me to go through the same stress. And he turned around to me and said, look, I don't want you to do it. And I said, I'm doing it. He said, well, I think it's a really good idea. Let me be involved. And I said, no, I don't. I want to do it on my own. And he said, no, please let me get involved. I'll be a silent partner. I'll help out. And I did. But he's a strong character, same as me. And within days, everyone knew he was involved. They thought it was his, not mine. And then would get in there like 2 years down the line. It's just, not only you've got the business stress, but you've got and it's
the
like, why are you doing
stress
that?
as well.
And it was little changes I'd make, and it'd be why, and it's like, at one point I wanted to change the whole thing around, but I couldn't, and I think I would have done better, and then I changed it to a restaurant after, and I got my brother down to cook, then he left, and then I got rid of that, and then what happened there?
Did you sell it, or did you just close it down?
I can't remember what happened with it. Oh no, I had enough of it by then. So what I did was, I think it was a restaurant at the time. I said to my dad, just take it over from now. I'll pay the rest of the bills that I've got. I'll pay it off, and then you just take it over. So he walked in it fresh, which I didn't realise, because no matter what, even though it was a small business, the turnover was a lot more than what I would have earned on a wage. So I said, I'll pay the bills. So I left, and I had like $3,000 worth of bills, which I didn't realise. That's like 4 months. I think it was 3 months of pretty much paying everything I earned to pay off the debt. So that took me a little while to pay
Wow.
that one off. So I cleared that, and then I think COVID happened not long after. And then, so I had one business where all I wanted was money, and it didn't work. And then I thought, I'm going to have to try something where I've got a passion for, which then starts leading towards the gym. So I start looking at units to open, like an MMA fighting gym. Start looking at trainers. My friend said, go to Malden. He just moved there. And it was just at the start of COVID. I was naive. I thought, oh, COVID would be over by September. So I started looking at units, and I found this big one. And I said to the guy, can I have it? And he said, yeah, but it's not open till September. And I said, yeah, it's fine. COVID will be over by then. He was like, oh, okay, you can have it. So I took a loan out, got the unit, opened up, bare minimal. Like, I got like, what did I get? I don't think I had a ring. Oh, I had a small ring, 800 quid ring. I drove the Wales to pick up some mats, bags. It was a huge unit, but I wanted somewhere where I would want to train. So I got this unit. I had a couple of people helping me out, set up. And then all of a sudden we had another lockdown straight away. Within like the first 2 months, I was paying for that rent. And then I've got to be, to be fair, grateful again, because I don't know if I'm just lucky. I don't know, I must be lucky. I think I am lucky, because straight away I was going on the Facebook Marketplace, boxing one-to-ones, MMA one-to-ones, classes, and straight away I was getting people through the door. Straight away, within a few months, I was quite busy.
Wow.
I had 2 other trainers who come and pay to be there. And I didn't charge them a lot, because in my head I did one other trainer, so they was there, not paying too much. I had a little bit of drama with them, because one of them wanted to set his own boxing gym up, and I think he was just getting the ump because he didn't have it. And I sat him down one day and I said, look, you're having issues. And he was like, yeah, I am. I said, you need to go and set your own gym up. And he was like, what? And I was like, you just need to go set your own gym up. I said, I don't care if you do, like, you're not going to be happy here, so just go and do that. I'll be fine without you. So he was like, oh, fucking hell, like, I appreciate you saying it. He actually turned around and said, no, like, you're such a genuine guy, I'll stay. Like, I'll stay because I think that's fair. So he stayed, and then a few months later, he was like, no, yeah, I think I will actually go, which was like what we said. And I said, yeah, but I think because I was honest, he respected that and wanted to stay with me, but he needed his own thing, and it ended up being arguing and stuff. So he left, which didn't really affect me at first. It didn't affect me at all, really. And then what happened was, it was all fine. It was all going well. It was slowly building up. There was a couple more things I was doing. So I was going to split in half, do a weights gym, get more members in, charge a membership for that. And I had some exciting things coming. Mm-hmm. And then I set up a little boxing show in the gym, because I had a big ring and it was a really perfect area. And it only earned I think it was like 100 or 200 quid profit. But I had all the young guys come and they trained really hard for it, and they'd done it. And it was such a rewarding night. I never wanted to put on boxing shows before, but it just happened. And I just thought, wow, like that's what I want to be doing. And I'd never really wanted to be like the center of attention. Look at me, like a singer or a dancer or anything. I didn't want to be a fighter, singer, dancer, nothing. I won't care, and I'll be behind the scenes, don't care. But it's just one thing that I was in the middle. I was doing the reffing. I was right in the middle the whole time. I just thought, yeah, this is where I want to be. I want to be the ringmaster of my little circus kind of thing. And and after that, I just thought, I just need to leave. I think I started setting up the weights. I got COVID, I had a week off, sat with my girlfriend, who, to be fair, she's been a rock with me. And I turned around to her, I said, like, yeah, I'm going to shut it down. And then I put it out to a couple of people who I thought would buy it. 2 of them said, yeah, I think we're going to buy it. Come down, looked at everything, priced all stuff up. Pretty much said yes to me about buying it, which it weren't going to be a lot. I pretty much said to them, just give me, I think it was like, the equipment was probably worth 10 grand. I said, give me 5 grand, have all the equipment and take over the lease, I'll leave. And obviously that's a good deal. They said, yeah. Now I even said to them, they can pay me the 5 grand over a few months to get started. And they was happy with it. And then another guy come along and said, I'll let you know, but can I have another week to think about it? And he seemed so keen. I told him about the other guys, he was so keen. So I put it off another week, but it set me back another month in rent. And the rent was all in total was about 4 grand a month I had to find, which I was up until that point. So I shut down for a month, which means now I owe 4 grand without earning anything, which, okay, I'll bite my tongue on. Yeah. And then now it's another month. So now it's like 8 grand. And then we set back and I started clearing out. He then pulled out buying it. The other 2 guys disappeared. So now I'm like, got a whole month to clear out, start clearing out. And then the landlord, it turned out I had to pay another month as well. So now I'm like 10 grand down from this gym. So I shut down, got rid of it. I had a little hybrid Mercedes at the time, sold that to pay off some of it. And I literally, so I paid it off within, I think, 3 or 4 months working. So I shut that down. I thought, right, that's it. I'm just going to float around, put on boxing shows. I've got some good contacts with buying boxing gear and stuff, so I'll go to gyms and set them up with the contacts and take a little bit of cut off that. And but then a friend of mine who owns DSSL, such a good company, my friend called me up and said, "Oh, would you want to work here?" And it's one of them companies, if they call you up to ask work for, you just say yes, because they give you the best healthcare. It's a small business, but it's a big business. It's a big small business. I just said, yeah, like, sign me up. And when it's trainee though, it would be 18 grand a year. I said, sign me up. I don't care. Like, I know the overtime's good. So I was on 18 grand a year, and I think it took me just under a year to pay off 15 grand of debt from the business on like an 18 grand salary. So to be fair, I do pat myself on the back, because every month I'd get like, say, it would have been 1,300, but with overtime it was like 1,800 quid. And I'd literally spend 1,800 quid on bills, and I would just almost starve for the month just to pay off these bills. And I paid the landlord off 10 grand within, I think it was 3 months. The business rates, paid that off like 2 months later. And so, to be fair, I've got a hats off to myself. I paid off so much. But even though, like, I look back and I think, oh, should I have just stayed and done the gym, build it up and leave it and then do the shows? But I don't know. It's a blessing and a curse. As soon as I wanted to leave and do these shows, no, I'm done. See you later. People were sad and they didn't want me to go, but I said, like, I can't remember what excuse I gave to leave, but I was like, no, I'm going, and that's it. And to be fair, the reason was because I just wanted to do something else. I wanted to do these boxing shows, and that's where I am, and I'm not looking back now.
That's amazing. You know, it takes some real grit and perseverance, and like obviously trusting yourself, which you have, to like keep on pivoting the way you've pivoted. Obviously, it's a few year period, but the like the balls, mate. Do you know what I mean? Like, just the sheer balls to be like, all right, listen, I'm gonna put this down, pick this up, go again. You know, and I guess, like, obviously you said that the feeling of creating such an event is what like motivated you to carry on. Like, how are there a lot of logistics? So I can just imagine like loads of logistics, like hosting a boxing show, mate. Like, and like obviously stress of, like, I know, gas, electricity, drinks, and like organizing everything. Was that easy for you, or was that something that was just like, well, all I need to call is ABCD person and everything else will sort itself out?
Just with the first one at the gym was harder than pretty much all the ones I've done now, because the first one was, well, we're going to sell tickets. Everyone who fought was training at the gym, and they fought each other. It was like an exhibition show, and they just got to sell tickets for like 20 quid, and they got, I think it was like 10 quid of it. And so it was like, for them, they was like 2 young lads sold out pretty much the whole show, because obviously the tenner to them is bigger than like the other guys. So that was harder because it was the first one. I had to get certain things in, and I had to get the chairs in, and this and that, and everyone had to sign disclaimers. And it was easy with the insurance side of things, because I already had the insurance, and as long as people signed disclaimers, it was easy. But it was odd things like having someone tell the people when to come down, and the DJ, he'd never done that type of event before. But that was probably harder, because the ones after, I thought I'll go a different route. And when I'd done the shows, originally it was just going to do online, and I was just going to we meet up at a gym with a boxing ring. We get 6 people, and there's 3 fights, and we literally just call them out and they fight, and that's it. And we use the gym's insurance because it's all insured. We just get 2 guys on iPhones recording it, and that's it. So there was like 4 or 5 of us all doing it as a hobby. We obviously couldn't earn any money out of it, and I just done it all on my socials, and they got to be a part of it. So that was easy, because we just turned up. If like the first one, I think I had 5 fights booked. I think 2 of them pulled out. Another guy, no, pretty much all of them pulled out. And it was only on the day before, I messaged Riggs actually, and I said to him, "We've got a heavyweight," and he was training his pal's younger brother, and said, "Oh, he'll do it. He's never boxed before, never done pad sparring, nothing." I went, "Yeah, he'll turn up." And normally, if someone says they'll fight, they won't. It's
They won't.
like 10% of people, if that, who say they will turn up. So I'm like, he ain't going to turn up. Riggs ain't going to turn up. He ain't going to turn up. And I've got to give it. Riggs turned up with this bloke, and it was like, yeah, whatever, just send us with whoever, I don't care. And I got a hats off to him because he comes across a certain way, Riggs, and he's just not I'll say it now, Riggs is the most humble person I've had in a boxing gym ever. Of everyone, he's the most humble. And people at a gym will kind of catch him at the wrong time, and they won't think it. They'll think he's arrogant, cocky, and they say these things. And I'm like, no matter what, I'll stick up for people. So I'll say, no, he's not. He's humble. Like, if you see him in the boxing ring, he's humble. And fair play to him. He turned up with his pal, and then I had a guy who used to train in Malden. He then fought my friend, and before it was really weird because they were all chatting before, like, oh, so I'm fighting you, okay, like, I'll get in there, and I ain't trained in a little while, but like, we'll put on a good show. And they all of a sudden they get in there and are trying to tear each other's heads off, and it was such good content. And it took me like so I was still working at DSL, like on the van, so I'd use my iPad, and on the way to a job, like, take an hour, I'd be editing the videos up. And my pal Luke, who was driving, he was recording it as well. So he'd be like, ask me like, oh, what's happening there? Oh, what's happening now? And I'd be editing, and we'll stop, go out, do a job, another hour trip, I'll carry on editing. And it was like, I was lucky I could do that as well, because during the days I just edited them all up, chucked them out. And it was only up until, I can't remember the first one. I started doing them at a gym. And what I said I was going to do was go to boxing gyms and hopefully amateur clubs and pay them like £100, rent out their gym for 2 hours, have 3 or 4 rounds of heavy sparring, really, and then they get a little bit of money, we get to use the ring, and we'll go. We can tag them in, advertise them. And it was only the one where we done one, it was really good, and one lad bought about 10 people, and I thought, I don't really want them coming for free, because these guys train a lot, they deserve to get a bit of money out of it. So I said, we'll start charging people like £15, and I'll pay the gym a little bit more. Like, I'll pay them I think I was paying them £50. I said I'll pay them £100. And then the one gym said, look, to have a gym for, I'll need like £400 or £500 to cover it. And I just said, well, for that, I'm better off like going to another venue. I'll pay it, but I can't guarantee it. If I sell the tickets, then you can have it. So I'll give you like half the ticket money, because it weren't about the money. I just wanted to have a bit of a crowd there and give the fighters some money. So I'll be only like £2 a ticket. And on that one, I would have actually lost money even if it sold out, because I was only going to have 50 people. And he just didn't reply to me. So I thought, well, I'll find a venue. So we, I can't remember where that one was. I think that one we went to the bigger hall literally down the end of my road. So that one was, because we've already done these online ones, and I knew who would and who wouldn't turn up, which was like the main idea. If I got an online series going, which I wanted it to build up a lot bigger, but I didn't have a chance to. But I wanted that to go on for like a couple of years, build up a massive online following, and then I'd know who would and wouldn't pull out. But to be fair, we had just enough, so I knew certain people wouldn't pull out, so I could book a certain hall. And when all I had to do was just hire a ring, which they turn up, they're very professional. They turn up on time, they set the ring up while you can do everything else, get the tables out, you tell people where to go, what to do. And because of the nature of the event, people just want to be involved. And if you box, you want to be involved in a show. And I tell you this now, the biggest issue I have at the minute is telling people that they can't be my partner, because so many people want to be involved and help me put on a show, and they're not even asking for money, but they want to give me money just to set up bigger shows. And I have to obviously say no, because I can't take like, say, £1,000 off someone and then not give them 2,000 or whatever it is off the show, because that would just lose money for me. I don't really need the money, because they sell tickets before anyway. So it's hard saying no, because I know they just want to do it for the passion. But at the same time, I need the money.
100%. You've got to run a business. So tell me, what is it that you need right now? Is it just persistence? Actually, no, I'm going to change my question, because you've mentioned about being online. What was it about? What made you change your mind from being like creating an online following, like what Little Man did and all of that? Don't play dirty, whatever. What made you not stay online and go live in person? Because I love that. I love the idea, the drift to go in person. But what was it about it that for you to be like, okay, we're just going to do in person?
I think, like, if we're all honest, if I could sell out the O2 Arena tomorrow, I would. And of course I would. And the only reason I wouldn't, because I haven't got the O2 fighters and I haven't got the sellout crowds. And the only reason I wouldn't have done the hall that I eventually did do is because I couldn't guarantee the people and I couldn't guarantee the fighters. So, well, I can't remember what I was saying.
Yeah.
I've lost my train of thought. Yeah, so if I could have sold out the small hall straight away and I knew I could do that, I would have just done it. So I think for me, the online thing, it was like a safe, which for me, I normally just go balls in, and I would have hired a big hall, said, yeah, $4,000 hall, I'll say yes to it now and pay you later. And I'd have ended up stitching myself up for the next few months. So I thought I'd play as small as I can and almost guarantee it because to be fair to my girlfriend, I've done now 3 or 4 businesses with her and I've started them. As soon as it's looking like it's going well, I'm like, bang, stopping, move on to something else. So it's like we've always been kind of a step back and always just paying things off all the time. So I said to her, I'm just going to work and I'm just going to put them, not pay anything into it, and I'll just let it grow organically. And to be fair, that did actually even cost me because I had to rent the places out, but it was like £200 for the event. And I wanted to just guarantee it. I'd never had a guarantee in business. I thought I'll just guarantee it. I'll build up the following and do it and play it safe. But if I knew I could have done the halls, I would have just done it. And now, knowing what I know now, to be fair, I think I've done it right. But knowing what I know now and people I know now, I would just hire a hall, get the fighters and do it. So it's just the unknown. That's the only reason I didn't go straight into it. The reason why I was forced to do the hall was because we had people asking to come and watch it live, and I kept saying no. So I thought, I could sell 30 tickets tomorrow, so I'll do it. And then all of a sudden I worked out, I only need to do 100 tickets to actually earn a little bit of money. I thought, well, I could maybe get a few more fighters on and I could do it, which we done, I think, 150 on the first one. So that was good. Wow. And then we found a smaller hall, which we only needed to cover like 50 people to make it look busy. And we're selling that out pretty much every time. It's so busy in there. It's probably too busy, to be honest. People couldn't sit down. So now it's at a stage where no matter what, I can always have a crowd, which that's what I wanted. So now I never have to go back to just in a gym recording it. So, yeah, really, the answer to the actual question is I was only doing the online because I was scared about not selling out a crowd. And now it happened sooner than I wanted. That's it.
That's some legit stuff, bro. So that's legit. How long did it take you? How long does it take you to start a show? Well, you might not have to answer that because it feels like you're giving away your entire business plan. So
I'll tell you when I start. Do you know it's weird because like anyone can do it, like, and anyone can just find a fire and put on a show. And if anything, just like people, if you're thinking about doing it, either talk to someone and get involved with someone, or just try and do it. What I will say is the hardest part is people pull out no matter what. Like, I was talking to a friend and we're trying to do a show in Grays, and he lives in Grays, and he's going to be the main face in Grays for it. And then it'll be, eventually I want it to be like almost like a franchise where we're covering the whole country, and I've got different people running different areas, and it's all under the Olympus brand, and we sort of take over the boxing scene, and gyms can be affiliated, and only affiliated gyms can fight on the shows, and it's all online and all this jazz, which then I won't be able to be touched, which is, they've got the safety. Obviously, I'm nowhere near that now. But the biggest problem is, like you said to me, I could get 6 fights. I said, 6 ain't enough, really. That's the minimum you can have on a live show. So if you try to get 15, and you'll probably wind up with 8. And he's like, 15 fights? So you've got to try to get 15. If you don't try for the 15, you won't even get 8. You need to try for 15 to get 8. And it's like the first one that we planned, I had 12 booked 2 days before. On the night, we had 6, with one person fighting twice who shouldn't have fought because his bicep was torn, but he was so experienced he could. And then another guy fought twice. So without them, we'd have had 3 fights. So it's like, and we had 12 booked the day before, like 2 days before, and they all pulled out within days. So it's like, I'll be honest, if you can't handle stress, don't do it, because people just pull out. I've had people beg me to fight. On the recent one, someone begged me to fight, turn up to the show before. I said, come to the boxing show, talk to me then, and I'll put you on the next one. He'd come with his girlfriend, he was chatting away, and then we booked him in for the January one and the February, and he said, am I still fighting January? I said, I haven't got you someone, I'll find you someone. Found him someone, and it was weird how they both pulled out, because someone said yes, and the next day said, "Oh, I don't want to do it anymore. I've spoken to someone. I want to do another show." I said, "That's fine, no worries. I'll let you guy know." And I went to tell him, and I noticed that he's advertising for another fight like a week later. And I thought, that's really odd. Like, you begged me for the fight, and I'm about to let you down, and you've not even told me you're not fighting anymore. So I just messaged saying, "Are you still fighting?" And then he just didn't reply. I never spoke to him again. I thought, what a weird thing, because I don't care if someone pulls out, they pull out. I couldn't care less. If you don't want to fight, you don't want to fight. If you don't want to fight for me, tell me, and I'll try to be better at it. Do you know what I mean? But because there's got to be a reason. We're not the biggest show yet, obviously. So if someone said, "Oh, do I want to fight on the Conor McGregor UFC show or Olympus in Essex?" Obviously, I'm going to choose McGregor. I'm not stupid. Like, it's a big deal, and each fighter, their next fight is their biggest fight, even if it's small time in front of their 10 of their friends. It's the biggest fight of their life. So to go on a biggest show they can, more respect, you do that. The only difference is, obviously, I know what I'm saying is what people don't realise. Like, it's their biggest fight, and I will treat it like it's their biggest fight, and I'll give them the respect they need. If they're injured, they won't fight. If they're not cutting weight, if they're not happy, I'm not going to force them to fight. If they say to me on a day, "I can't do it, I need to leave," I'll think of an excuse for them. I'll make sure everyone's happy with them, because at the end of the day, they're the ones who are going to get in there. And if you don't fight on a day and you let everyone down, it's hard to do. But sometimes you have to do it if you're not ready, because you're sacrificing your life. You need to be in the right mindset and the right physical state. Obviously, I'd like everyone just to turn up and fight, because otherwise it makes a shit show. But I mean, it's hard. But that's also why it's so good. And I think that's, like, just forcing people to fight will end up making it a shit show. And it ends up just being like any performance. The thing that we've got is that it's gladiator shit. It's like not anyone can just go in there and try to kill each other. It's brutal, it's medieval, and that's why people pay to watch it. It's not like you're going to watch your Sunday football. Like, if my friends call me up and say, "Oh, do you want to come watch me play football?" I'd probably go once. I probably wouldn't go every week.
Yeah.
Whereas fighting, it's like, you've got to go. You've got to go to your close friend's fight. You can't not. So, but it's because of that. Because if you just went and said, "Yeah, I'm not really in the mood for it, I'm probably just going to get beat, but I don't care," you'd be like, "Well, I ain't fucking watching that. Like, what's the point?" So
exactly,
we need higher standards for it. So if you're not ready, you're not fighting. But at the same time, I'm doing them pretty much every month. So you just miss one and do the next month. Fuck it.
Yeah, amazing. I just wanted to, like, you've acknowledged your fighters throughout this, but I just want to highlight for everyone else, and also that, like, the amount of confidence, self-esteem, pride, and honor, like, you're instilling to the young men and old men that fight for you, must be absolutely immense. Because it's like, number one, you're giving them something to look up to, but also you're giving them a reason to fight, giving them a reason to gather their community to come and watch them, and ultimately making them feel loved, whether they win or lose. Do you know what I mean? And it's just like, I was just thinking of, it's just like, for me, it's like a really, really immensely powerful thing, because, like, you're providing entertainment, you're providing like a physical nourishment, you're providing community, you're providing a whole lot of fun as well, and it's just absolutely amazing. So before this conversation, I actually didn't look at the business like that. I was just looking at it like how I would really look at, like, I don't know, like a big UFC fight. I'm just there for the fight card, right? But listening to you, it's like listening to the ins and outs of it as well, and also the people management side of it as well, and what you've created as a movement that's going to grow, and that's going to grow is it's just fucking amazing, bro. It's actually really, really cool to see what you're creating for your community, and eventually, like, the rest of the UK. So just to close, did you want to say something?
Do you know what? There's one thing. This is a little bit of a question as well. So I just thought of it. Like, it's because I get some guys, they come and they drink, they do whatever on the weekend, they get drunk. They've got no meaning to themselves, and they're fighters through. Like, it's like I talk to him in a way where it's almost like when you spar someone, you fight someone, You can never be as honest. Like even if you're grappling, like it's the most honest, organic you can get someone, because you can have someone like I've had a guy. He's sort of almost like a sleazy salesman. He pretends to be your best friend, chay, and in the sparring you see the side of him where he's trying to kill you, even though you've said, "Oh, we'll just do a light little sparring move around," and he's trying to get these shots in. He's trying to catch you with these things. And I'm thinking, well, it's a good thing I'm more experienced than you and I can do what I want here, because you would actually try to harm me. And before you wouldn't expect it, and after you wouldn't expect it. But in there, I think the fear, I don't know what happens, but they're real. So when you're naturally that type of person who just loves fighting, and you're the same in and out, and you are just a fighter and you love it and you feel good, a lot of these guys don't have much, I know it sounds bad, but they haven't got much meaning other than that. And I think a lot of people, like my granddad, which is weird because my granddad's Jamaican, and I got told when I was younger that the Jamaicans are actually a lot quite violent in their nature. Apparently, it's something to do with the slavery or something when they got dropped off the boat. I don't know, but that's what it sounds to me. I thought that's weird because he's actually so against it. He calls it barbaric and he hates it, but he doesn't understand that for someone who loves fighting and combat in any way, like I was brought up on Lord of the Rings and things like that, there's not any other way to express that or to like have any meaning. Like you can't, like if someone nowadays disagrees with you, the way I naturally want to deal with that, or if I'm angry with someone or I have an argument with someone, you can't deal with that. So it's like I have one guy, he's fighting soon, and he gets violent when he goes out drinking. As soon as he signs up to fight, stops smoking, stops drinking, he becomes the best version of himself. And it's weird. And I think this is where I was going to ask the question. Do you think, like, with like the roles of people, some people are fighters, say hunters, some people are gatherers. Do you think that's affected us now? And some people have them traits where they need it. It's not a case of like, in the gladiator times when they're killing each other in a coliseum because they have to, because they're slaves. Actually, they want that. They're warriors. They need it. And they can't go into battle. They need to kill each other. They need to just fight. Like I get no more pleasure than standing toe to toe with someone, giving me a bit of lip and giving a bit of back and forth, and stand toe to toe trying. Like me, my brother Alfie, he's heavyweight. He's a good heavyweight. He sparred at a very high level. 24th of December, Christmas Eve, we sparred once, and my other brother, who likes the gaming, he was recording it, and we're just going toe to toe in the middle of this room in a gym, and we're just trying to knock each other out. And that's the happiest Christmas I've had. And it's a weird feeling, and obviously my granddad can't understand it, but I don't know. Do you think that people have kind of set roles, and with like the masculinity thing, do you think some men or women are more like the violence and the fighting and the hunting and want them high intensity pressure moments, and some need a bit more structure, like accountants, mathematicians, like working out, like things to make sense? Because what I do doesn't make sense. You shouldn't be damaging your brain how we do it. But what they do is like maths and don't harm, eat healthy. Do you know what I'm saying? What do you think?
Yeah. Well, do you know what? Yeah, I 100% think that certain people are predisposed to certain character traits, right? I think that, like what you're saying about your boy, who, when he's got a match lined up, he's ready to fight. I think that innately, every human being needs a purpose. And at the same time, I don't think our purposes are so, how do I say this? So I don't think our purposes are so far different from our genders. And what I mean by that is, when you look at most people, right? So there's a study done that on average, men and women are like very similar, right? We're actually pretty balanced, but on the extremes, men are the most like aggressive. They're the most dangerous, let's call them. And then on the other side of the extreme, it's women that are more kind, caring, and this, that, the other. So I think that we are all naturally predisposed to certain characteristics and certain traits. And I think when it comes to guys, some people argue it's the way we've been nurtured, but I think it's nature, man. I love competing. I love competing against anyone, like whether it be my brothers, whether it be my boys, whether it be like the stranger that you meet at the park, right? Like it instantly becomes like for me personally, it becomes a friendly competition. But obviously, some people get a bit butthurt, and like that guy who's like just sparring it ultra hard when you were like, yo, listen, my boys. You know what I mean? Some people are they're just that way. So yeah, man, I really do think that we're predisposed, and like obviously you're gonna have some guys who are a bit more empathetic, a bit more in touch with their emotions, and I also think that everyone needs a release. You know, everyone. Well, actually, I'll go back to the purpose thing. Everyone needs a purpose. I think everyone requires a purpose, and having that purpose allows you to feel honorable, and going into like the fighting, I think your boy feels honor from fighting. I think he feels like
that's what man
this
should be,
is something
kind of
that proves it just proves something for him. You know, like it used to be that for women that having a baby proved that they were women. Now that whole entire story is changing. However, it's changing, and new things are coming in the way to stand as representations of being successful, being this and being that. And ultimately, I think that people are just designed that way. And I think we're designed that way because we know that we're going to die, and before we die, we want to be important. We want to be, we want to have given value to our community, and obviously, those of us who have bigger egos want our community to be the whole world. You know, and for others, it's like they don't mind their village, they don't mind their town, they don't mind their city. You know, and I guess. I think what happens to some of the people who like are only focused when they have a goal is that they aren't clear themselves on where they stand in the world, you know, and because of that lack of clarity of where they stand in the world, it causes them to either have angry outbursts or even anxious outbursts, right? Or causes them to overseek pleasure, because what they think is the fulfillment of something is the going out, having great moments with their friends, not realizing that is amazing that you've got good relationships with your mate. Probably not as good that you get in like drunk, wasted, high every weekend. Like, probably not, but I'm not one to judge. And at the same time, it's like, okay, well, what if you hung out with your boys like every other day, but you still had everything else in order? What where else can you get your fulfillment, you know? So it's so hopefully I answered your question. So I do think that people have roles and also like predisposed directions that they're naturally going to head into, but at the same time, of course, there's always going to be like anomalies around the world.
There's some people, I call them dogs, and like this one guy, if he's like, take off the lead and let me go, and he wants to be told, he wants to be trained, and he's older than me, he owns his own business, but he wants to be, right, you find this date, you find this person, get ready, go. And this is going to sound cocky and arrogant, but I don't like, I used to say to people, like they'd call me an attention seeker, and I say, I'm not an attention seeker, I'm an attention getter. I said, I don't want the attention, but someone's got to be centre of attention, and I think I'm best suited for it. And I say it jokingly, but I mean it, because I don't mean it in a horrible way, but sometimes I've been in a circle and there's been one, let's call him the big dick of the circle, and they've been spiteful, they've singled someone out, and I'm gonna sound cocky this, but I'm confident, I'm fairly large, I'm never normally the one who gets singled out. So when all of a sudden I see someone getting singled out, for me, I've been around four brothers, we're all quite caring for each other. When that happens, it pisses me off, and I'll then either stick up for them, or I'll include them somehow, or I'll then bark back for them. But for me, I would rather be the one taking a piss out of and be secluded than them. I just can't watch it. So in my head, if I'm the one in charge and I'm the one making all the jokes, or at least the one who decides if it's funny, you know, in a group where someone's in charge, like someone will make a joke, but they'll make it towards a certain person, and if it's funny, it's approved. Everyone can laugh. And
literally, you look at they have that person that looks around the room and be like,
and there's just one. But I like being that person, because I'm not always a person, but I like to be the person, because I don't like people being singled out. And if one person starts then attacking the other person, say there was a certain larger guy, look at Fat Boy, he's going to do this. That gets to me, and I look and I'm like, we try to take his weight. Like, what's wrong with you? Like, chill out. We're going to his weight for, and then that will shut him down. He won't do it again, and it will tell him off. Stop it, and it will stop. Yeah. And so it's the same thing with like the shows and things. It's just like I don't want to be I think a certain role is like a leader role. I don't want to be the one in charge or the leader, but I think if I'm being honest, I'm good at it because I've got that empathy, and I think I naturally fall into it. But I'm similar, like the fighting side of it is because it's fighting, because I wanted to be a dog. I just wanted to be like, I'm jealous of the dogs. I wish I was just trained by someone and then just didn't have to think about it. And they just set me into the ring, go fight, be done. But because I don't see the lack of care for me that I would give someone, I just can't do it. And I just can't commit to the fight because there's no one apart from my oldest brother who's not actually boxed. Like, he's done a lot of karate and MMA, but he's not confident enough in the boxing to actually be in my corner. I can't do it. My brother's probably the only ones who I would trust. So, and they're not going to do it. So it's like, I can't trust someone in the corner because I can't trust them to do it because they wouldn't do it how I would want to be looked after. It's all about care for me. And it's because another note as well, because when you're in a fight, that's the only moment probably in your life where you're under imminent threat and the person you look to first isn't your mum or dad. It's your coach, the person in your corner, and you look to them first. What do I do? And that's a huge responsibility. And some people just don't care. They don't even get up to... I went to one place and the kids were fighting. And it's the same for the kids as it's the adults, except the kids are forced into it. They're not chose to it. So they haven't even got the closure of, I've chosen to do this, I have to. They're being forced into this fight. And the coach would sit in the corner, in the changing room around the back, and would send me in to go do their corner. And I would take it seriously for them. But this kid doesn't know me. He's trying to look for the coach, and he's not even there. And I think it's so disrespectful. And you need that little bit of care.
Yeah,
and I don't want to take the role of being in charge and running the shows. But if I had to choose someone, it's going to be me. And I think if I'm honest, I've just got to take the role. I've got to be just honest with myself, and I think I am good at it, and I've just got to take it. And if I'm not just saying it, but I wouldn't want to be a leader. I would rather be a dog and just be told what to do, and I would do my job as best as I could, and it would be the best. Even if I was like a painter, I'd be the best painter you've ever seen. But realistically, I'd be looking around thinking, "You're not looking after us. You're not doing a good job. I need to do your job for you. You be the fucking painter, because you're just not doing it how it should be done." And I just think I'm better suited than these people, to be honest. It sounds cocky, but...
Wow. To be fair, bro, like, but if anyone who's actually listened to exactly what you've been saying throughout the whole entire podcast, bro, your temperament is for that, bro. Like, you genuinely have a light outlook on life. You take life very seriously. You take opportunities. You take risks. You're calculated. And like you've just said, you care, right? So for you to be a dog, that would be very fun. That would be great. But I think you'd be a boring dog, mate. I think you'd be a boring dog. Do you know what I mean? Like, we need someone, a person like you is needed because, like you're saying, in those friendship situations, you're the balance. You know, like you're the master of your circus. You know how your circus works, and you're going to be as fair as you possibly can to everyone that comes into your circus. You know, and the people that are, let's say, the employees of your circus, they're not going to be treated as if they're freak shows. You're going to be treated like a professional circus. Do you know what I mean? So for me, it means that, like, I completely resonate with what you're saying, because everything that you've just spoken of, your stories, your memories, how you process things, to me, is someone who is actually really, really conscientious, really, really thoughtful about what it is they do and how they do it and who they're doing it with. Like what you're saying, like, there's certain people you tell ABCD to, and there's certain people you don't. Like, only a person who is like really, only a person who is really thoughtful and also continuously including people into their world, into their business, and running a business that thrives with other people around them that they like, who like them. Because obviously you can get like people who are like narcissists, like that guy who worked at Adventure Island, right? Who was just like chatting everyone's ear off, but it was actually turned out to be a prick. You know, so it's like, boom. Like that's how I see it. That's how I see it. So, and to be fair, like even thinking back to that Adventure Island story, it's like you've become the person who's a chatterbox, but not necessarily
Yeah.
the bullshit. You become actually the pillar, you know. So it's like it's fucking great, mate. Is what it is. It's fucking great. So when's
Friday
the
the
next
3rd
fight?
of March at the War Memorial Hall.
Friday. Say again.
Friday
Friday
the 3rd of March at the
third of
War
March. Where?
Memorial Hall, Canvey Island, Essex. Are you going to come? We need to
Canvey
get you
Island, Essex. And
commentating.
how much? The comment, honestly, listen, I think I'll be terrible. But I would love to come down, and I'll come down to the one on the 3rd of March, yeah, just like see what it's all about. I'll bring my older brother, I'll bring my girl. Do you know what I mean? And
Well,
yeah, like it'll be amazing.
In that one, but he's going to be there, so it'll be good to catch up with him as well. I need to have
Yeah,
you in my pocket, and everywhere I go, you've jazzed me up this whole time. I feel like I could take on the world now.
No, honestly, like to be fair, bro, like with everything that you've shared, and also like I've had the instances that I had with you when I forgot how old I was, probably like 17, 18, right? And just like how open and welcoming you were to me. Like, you went to your studio, and in your studio, you were like, okay, listen, how can we grow? How can we make this thing big, right? And we sat down, we started planning about YouTube, we started planning about coming to the studio, so and so. And like me being me, mate, I was just like so stoned, so not focused on like a bigger picture, bigger goal. You know, I could see like, I missed out on an opportunity to develop and create something with someone else who was serious, you know? So like for me, I have that insight of who you are. Obviously I don't have like the intricate details of when you're being a prick to someone, right? But, but like you have to be firm at times. But what you've been sharing here, bro, like it's my life philosophy. Do you know what I mean? Like a lot of it is how I live my life already. And I admire that, you know, I really, really, truly admire that. And by the way, I've gotten to this stage in my life when I don't like something, I'll be like, are you sure, bro? Like, you know, I won't always be like super like aggressive and attacking, but I would definitely will call it out. But, listen, if you want me in your pocket, you just click this link over here and sign up for a free coaching call.
So what is it you do full time now? Is it like coaching you do, or?
Yeah, so I'm actually healthcare. So me and my family run a healthcare recruitment company. So healthcare assistants, nurses, and social workers. So that I call that my day job. And then I'm probably done every day, mate, by probably about 2-3 p.m. unless there's an emergency or something. And then after that, all I'm doing is I've got 2 coaching clients. I've got 1 consultancy client, which is like an hour every other week. And my coaching clients just an hour every week. Yeah, just building the coaching business, my man, you know. My goal is really all the philosophies that we've been speaking about today is to be able to create an experience. Like your boxing ring experience, not just a personal development a workshop, but like an actual experience where people will come, and within the period of, let's say, 3 days, within the period of 4 days, they have a completely new viewpoint on life that allows them to have the same level of freedom you have right now, Jack. This allows them to have the same level of freedom I have, and trust in themselves, and ability to deal with stress, ability to deal with managing busy tasks, and also allowing themselves to fail, you know. So that's really the long-term goal, but that's going to take a lot of learning and a lot of distilling. But right now, I work coaching wise. I've worked with like Metro Bank. I've worked with University of Kent. I've worked with some non-profit organizations. Like one of them is called Heart of Glass. And then like normal, just one-to-one group training, normal one-to-ones and group trainings, and just helping people become confident, brave, and happier, my man. So it's a journey. It's going to be a long journey, I think, but I wouldn't have it any other way, because it's what I really actually want to be doing. Like the recruitment is a family business, and I love my family. So it's like I'll contribute to that as much as I possibly can, because like for me, family is everything. But like my real actual passion is people discovering a way of looking at life that frees them from whatever baggage they're holding, you know. So that's a lifelong mission. So yeah, that's
it's
what
weird
I'm
because
up
I
to.
remember like back in the studio days. I remember because it was like certain characteristics, and you was that, like we're saying about the big dick. You was that character, and to me, I don't know. I mean, that's what I
Yeah,
saw it as anyway. I remember you sitting at one point, and because there was some guys there who were good at like spitting freestyles, and like some of them were like really good. Like there was one guy, white guy with glasses. I can't remember his name. Jake, was it? Yes, he was easily the
Jake,
best freestyler
yeah,
there, and he was spitting. But no matter what, he was the best. But everyone was still looking to you for that approval,
yeah,
and you were just. It was almost like you was
yeah.
this cloud of just, this is where you aspire to be. No one's as high as me, kind of thing. And it was like, I don't know. It was
Yeah.
weird because some of them were better at different things, but they still was like looking to Washi because Washi's the cool one. And it's weird. And I remember when I first started doing like mindful things, and I don't know. I think I've always been like the same person. So like the views I've had now, I feel like I've always had them. I don't think I have, but spiritually and like open mindedness, I think I have. So when you started doing it, I'm like, looks like a U-turn. Like the cool one, like smokes, rapping, and all of a sudden now is really chatty and talking and can dive in. It's like, wow, like levels and like layers to someone I didn't think were there. And it's like, to me, you're actually cooler now. Do you know what I mean? Like, you look cool then. Like, you had
Appreciate
you
you.
got a
Yeah,
swag about you no matter what. So you had swag no matter what. But like that could only be surface level. And I wouldn't have been surprised. I wouldn't have been surprised.
It was. Bro, yeah, like you got it so spot on, man. You've got it so spot on, and it's like, to be fair, as I said, I was just like emulating other people that I thought were cool, and I was following the wrong people. To be fair, you know,
Yeah.
I've always had great guidance at home. Right, so I didn't listen to your older brother with a Porsche.
Yeah.
I listened to all my other mates thinking that they knew best, and but the thing is, I'm actually really grateful for that experience, because that taught me that I actually do like to be that self-expressed and that like that cool person. But when I brought it back home, like for me, I was too scared, or not too scared, but I didn't trust myself enough to be that person back home, you know? So I was always actually living in conflict of like, what's the best way to represent myself with actual style, with a level of class, with a level of like dignity. Not saying like rappers don't, but it's for who I am and where I was coming from. It was like, okay, I needed to undo that whole entire experience, and then also discover what it is I really wanted to. Like, I actually got into music because of Jake, by the way, and I was just like, Jake was like, I bet you can rap. And I was like, I can't rap, but I can do poetry.
Yeah.
So again, I wasn't actually following my own dream. I was following someone else's dream, that because I'm who I am, like I made it mine. Because like when I'm into something, I'm so far gone all in that unless you've got the same energy as me, like I'm just going to consume it, because like I want it to be as big and as great and as fun as possible, you know. So I guess that's why I came across
probably. Like, if you wanted to be shy and uncoordinated, you probably wouldn't be able to. You haven't got a choice. Like, you probably naturally have that kind of swag and cool thing about you no matter what. Like me, I feel like mine's... like anyone who thinks I'm confident or like cool, mine's like, I work hard for it because I'm trying to be this certain person. Like, I could naturally fall into a shy shell, but I'm like constantly just trying to be myself almost. So whereas you, it feels like it's just like you could be quiet and still be the cool. Like you weren't saying anything. You was the coolest one in the room. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like a gift almost.
Yeah.
And no matter what you do, you're gonna have that with you. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like yeah.
Yeah, no, bro. Like, you're spitting facts. You're really spitting facts, and like, again, not to sound cocky, but that's what my experience of life has always been. You know, I've always, like, whatever position you put me in, there's always been like something there that I can't explain, and also at the same time, it's like that thing that we're talking about that occurs within me is actually something that I have to tap into as well, though. And it's like what you were saying about those guys at the gym. You'd like they're for them, their lows, you would see them at their highs in the gym, which would still be their lows, but in the pub that would actually be their low. And for me, that's the exact same. I experience myself as like this energy that you're receiving isn't always there, and it's not always there. And I'll tell you a secret. It's actually not always there because I'm not always being, it's when it's not there. It's when I'm not being authentic. It's when I'm not being real. It's when I'm not being true to myself completely. And exactly what you're saying, you're always chasing, to be yourself, and it just manifests when I am not, let's say again, you went into business with your dad, so you can relate. So I'm in business with my mum, and like, there's some things that I'm just like, oh, I don't actually agree with that. And because, let's say I don't voice it because I'm like, I can't be bothered for the tiff right now. What happens is, if I don't actually, like consciously accept that experience of me not fighting for what I believe to be true, what happens is I close up a bit, you know, I shrink a bit, you could say. And it's like what I've learned about me and my experience is that to not shrink. Well, actually, I've learned about a lot of other people's experience. To not shrink is to stay that true, authentic self, no matter what, you know. And that's the difficulty. Like when you saw me in my expression, I thought I was being my true expression of self, but I wasn't. I was manifesting high energy, like a certain je ne sais quoi, but deep down, like it wasn't congruent because, like, otherwise, I'd still be doing it.
You know, it's weird though. It's another point that we've gone on. But in, say, like, for example, we'll just use boxing for an example, but any fighting in particular, and this can be taken anywhere. Like I said earlier, like 16 is probably the better time to start. But sometimes, like, people take about like natural talent. Oh, he's a natural, and someone called me a natural at once, and I thought I found it offensive because I thought, no, when I started boxing. I wasn't very good. I had a lot of mistakes, and I was actually worse than a couple of my friends. I just had to work so hard, and I'm at the stage where people say, "Oh, he's natural," and it's like disregarding the work. But what I find is that some people, I don't particularly agree with natural ability in all. I think somewhere along the line they had more training in some way. Maybe their dads used to make them punch them or something. I don't know. But if I get two kids in, and they're both 18 years old. So you take away the age thing, and one of them, you say, oh, throw these 4 punches, and they throw them pretty well. And you get this other one who literally can't hit anything and are rubbish. The one that's 18 that does it pretty good and straight away can just do the movements and feels good and has that natural ability will go on to be worse than the one who doesn't, because the one who's got it doesn't know what it's like to try and to get better, whereas the one who tries will get better. So take it back to your thing. When you're naturally pretty cool guy, got the swag, everyone's around you, want to be you, to be able to then think, actually, no, this ain't cool. I need to try and find some other things. And like you're now trying to get better. That's hard because in school, I know this is going to sound silly to you, but in my junior school, I was the dark kid. So obviously I've got like, I know, you're looking at me now. I'm like the whitest I've ever been.
It's the Jamaican, mate. It's the Jamaican.
I was working in the little fun park for so long. I was super dark. I looked like Indian almost. And people used to say this, say that. And it was so confused. Like I used to just get like rinsed for it. And then I was always the one who got taken a mick out first. And if anyone would start talking about colour, I'd be sitting there thinking, oh, please don't look at me. Please don't look at me. And it's weird. Like I remember I'd go into school, be told, I was almost told I was too dark, and I got taken out for that. Go see my cousins who are Moroccan. They'll be like, "Oh, you're too white. You can't even handle the spice." And it's like, for God's sake, I was too dark to it. And now I look back and I think, jealous motherfuckers. Like, no, some of them like little girls used to like me because I was dark. And now I look back thinking everyone was trying to be dark. Now looking at I'm the white boy. I hate it. Darker the better. And it's like now, like I feel like an attractive person, and it's like I'm confident, but people kind of don't like it. But at one point I wasn't, and I'm just I'm just acting like a grateful person for what I've got. Like at one point, I'm going to be old and crippled. I don't want to
Yeah.
look back and think, oh, why didn't I go out and walk like a 6'1" person? Like I'm lucky. I'm 6'1". Like a lot
Mm.
of people ain't. A lot of people would love to be my height. I want to be grateful for it.
Mate, I'd
So,
love to just
but
be
I
six
don't want to
foot,
be
mate. I'm
cocky.
5'11",
But at the
mate.
same time, like imagine if I was walking like I was 5'2", you'd be like, "Fucking stand up tall, you prick!" Like, be grateful for what you've got. If you've got a nice car, drive it. Why?
Mm.
Or when the ones who've got nice stuff and they just throw away like it's nothing. They don't appreciate it. And I think it's like that. Like I used to feel
Mm.
ugly. At one point, I felt ugly. So now it's like I don't feel ugly anymore. I've got a pretty girlfriend. I get positive attention. I'm gonna act like I feel good looking. I don't even care if you don't think I am. I feel it. I'm gonna act
Yeah.
it. And it's weird. Like I don't know how I got into that.
Mm. No, it's cool. Like, there's so many things that came up for me when you're speaking, and it's like I don't know what it is. Like everyone always says to me that America is a completely different culture in terms of like Americans are always bigging each other up, and it's like obviously everywhere you're gonna get your school bullies and this, that, the other, because I think that's just a natural part of growing up. But it's like in this society, we don't nourish each other unless it's your own. And for a lot of people, like I'm lucky, and I'm pretty sure you're lucky that you've had people around you that have always been encouraging you, like your brothers, like your dad, like your mum. You know, you've had those people encouraging you. And for me, I've had those people encouraging me as well. And like going to touching on what you're saying about having born with talent, right, and nurturing that talent. I think for me, mate, what I've discovered is I have to have a purpose. Like even when it comes to coaching came naturally to me. I realized when I've discovered it, I was like, holy shit! Like I coach in almost every conversation I have, you know, and this, that, the other, and it was just like, okay. So even with coaching, like I've actually had to take on coaching as a challenge to get excellent, like a conscious challenge, because what it is that I've been given the gift to be able to learn things quickly. It's not that I consider, it's not that I've got like the X factor or whatever you want to call it, right? What I've realized within myself is I am a pattern identifier. I identify patterns really quickly. I might not be able to communicate them to you, but I can see, I don't know, when someone's public speaking and they've used a certain word and they've got a certain reaction from the crowd. If they do that 2, 3, 4, 5 times, I know what they've done. I won't be able to explain it to you. I'll be able to replicate it, but I know that. And it's like, because I have that within me, because I've always been an observer my whole entire life, it's like, okay, that's what's there. So I've attached my purpose of, how do I describe my purpose? My purpose is, so I've described my purpose as a stand, but the purpose that I've created for myself is really to learn as much as I possibly can, learn from the greatest teachers in the whole entire world, and then also share that information, share that knowledge, so that people can just be confident, brave, and happier in a simple way, you know. And I've attached my purpose to the things that I do on a day-to-day basis, so that I just can so that there's actually something pulling me, you know, so that I know, like, when I'm having an off day, that I think about, okay, this is why I'm doing everything. Like, I'm curious about the world. I'm curious about thought. I'm curious about philosophy. I'm curious about a whole ton of other shit. And I use that to pull me forward. And then I also, going back to like what you're saying about the difficulty of learning a new skill. When I stopped making music, because I was smoking so much weed, bro, like I got really, really anxious, like proper anxious. So that brought me down to zero, because I actually had to rebuild my confidence. I had to relearn how to speak to people, because I was scared to speak to my family, my friends, like the people in my life. So because I was so afraid to be human or like connect with other people, like I remember the visions I saw for myself, because I wasn't an active participant in society. I saw myself as like, oh my God, like the direction I'm headed into is being homeless, You know, the direction I'm headed into is being someone that can't hold and maintain a relationship because I'll be homeless. I won't have any money. I'll probably live with my mum. If I live with my mum, what type of woman who's like over 30, 40 would want to live with them, like want to date a guy who's this person? What type of like, how will your kids see you? How your people around you see you? And I paint this really, really big picture that I hate, that I can move away from. And I paint a really, really big picture that I'm truly interested in and that I love, that I can move towards. And like, because of I am who I am, I have to actually continuously recreate myself and the image of the future. I have to tweak it. I have to re-identify something that will make it exciting for me. Otherwise, I'll get stagnant. So because I learn so fast and I pick up things so quickly, not like I'm a genius, I can like read a maths book. You know, I just like I can see the world as it flows, and that's what really is my biggest advantage and my biggest disadvantage, because it's like I see things 100 times over, and then it's like, oh, it's boring now, you know. So I create my, you can call it my hell, and I create my heaven. And I use them both to pull against, or one to push me forward and the other one to pull me forward. That
makes sense.
Yeah,
no, I remember,
that's what's up, man. That's what's
up.
All
I do is I try to think of how I want to spend every day. Best case scenario, what would my ideal day look like? And I just think, how can I make that possible? How can I slowly make steps towards him? I like it's boring, but all I like doing is fighting pretty much. So do that and I don't want to just fight the same people. Like my goal would be to travel around I've got a goal at the minute, is to go to every single gym in the UK and basically train and spar with every single gym in the UK, boxing, kickboxing, karate, jiu-jitsu, archery, every type of combat, and just do that. And I think, how can I make that a reality? Like wake up, do that, spend some time with the family, go out for dinner, and I just think, right, that's how I'd want my week to be. And then the boxing shows are the easiest way for me, and I'll just make them small steps towards that.
That's so fucking amazing, by the way. I think that's so sick. That's the same with me. So I'm like, I want to hang out with the best thinkers in the world. So let me build an audience. Let me coach people and help them live a better world. Build my profile, host events, and along the way, I'll meet teachers. I'll meet more people who want to share knowledge with me. I'll meet more people. I can share that same knowledge that I've had to other people, you know? So like, that's it, man. That's it. Listen, I'm conscious that we've been speaking for almost 2 hours, which has been a blast, which is actually, honestly, such an amazing conversation, my man. But just to close it off, I always have this, 2-part question I ask people. Number one is, what do you think is going to become of the world? And then also number 2, what do you think is going to become of Jack Pessy in the future, almost as a self-declaration for yourself and your future?
I think as much as we think the world's going to change into some online alien conquering planet escaping thing, the history book on the shelf repeats itself. I think we're not meant to leave. And I think, this is going to sound crude, I think there are 2 things in the world that are perfect. And one of them is dick and pussy. And it sounds crude, but it is. It's made for each other. And the second is life and Earth. We're not meant to leave the Earth. We're meant to be on the Earth. And I think it's meant to live how it is. And whatever AI comes up, we'll naturally just we'll just fall away from it. You get like cancel culture, you get Andrew Tate, and it's just balance. I believe in balance completely, and I think it'll just carry on how it always has. That being said, the history book on the shelf repeats itself. I don't think there's ever been a Washi or a Jack Petty before. I think we're new. I don't think we've been here before. I think we're new, but everything's kind of grown, and I think. Do you know what? I used to want to take over the world. I wrote a plan out when I was about 15. It was like a well thought out plan how to take over the world and be king of Earth. And I wrote it out. It was quite a good plan, but it was only to keep me happy, because I thought no matter what, I want to always keep pushing and keep growing. That's my main thing. But now, because I don't want to go on too much, but I didn't want an easy life. I wanted a hard life, and I think God answered my prayers and gave me a fucking hard life. So I got that. So now I'm just trying to be happy, you know. Just want that day to day. Just wake up. I don't want to be mega famous. I don't care about too much money. I just want to be able to feel like I've worked for the money. Feel like my kids appreciate I work for the money, but be able to travel around like a kid and train wherever I want. And if I can get even close to that, then successful. And appreciate. I want to appreciate it while things are good.
Amazing.
I want to be smiling while it's good.
That's amazing. Jack, listen, thank you so much for being here today. I've really fucking enjoyed our conversation, man. Like it's top notch, man. Top notch. Some catch up, some insights, everything in between, man. Thank you for being here. Let everyone know where they can find you. If you can shout out your show on the 3rd of March again, that would be amazing.
Friday the 3rd of March,
we'll
War Memorial Hall at Zeus Combat, Olympus Combat Promotions, I think it is. Yeah, follow, like, and share and subscribe and everything in between and watch Washi. Cheers, mate. See you later.
Thank you so much, right? Take care. See ya.